So today there was an article from the Sports Business Journal that has stated that the chances of there being a WNBA strike are, greatly multiplying. Like, I don't think anyone would be that surprised by that, for being real. I don't think anyone would be, like, when it's all said and done, I don't think anyone would be, at this stage, would be that surprised. I think we would have been shocked if there was a strike, let's just say if this was 2 or 3 months ago, but now we're at the stage where we're into the final weeks and the players do not seem to be budging. The league they're basically being like, look, we have all the leverage. We're going to use all the leverage. And it's a bold move on both parts. It's a bold move on the league for not budging. And it's a bold move on the part of the, on the part of the, like, players, in thinking that by not budging, it'll work out. Because that, for me, it is a really tough one, because it's tough for it to work out. It is genuinely tough for the players, because if it doesn't work out, they're kind of screwed. They're really, really, really screwed if it doesn't work out. But anyway, we are going to be taking a read of this. So, this is from Sports Business Journal. The union, which has authorized a 98% player vote in December. And by the way, I wonder how many of the 98% actually are okay with a strike. Like, everyone says, 98% said yes, so therefore they're all okay with a strike. I wonder. They're obviously saying that because they have to, they have to show a united front. But, like, I wonder how many of them are actually okay with a strike. As I say, no firm strike decision or date has been solidified. The Players Union on Thursday would not confirm any strike scenario, while WNBA officials denied the comment. But sources said team executives league-wide are anticipating a work stoppage and are bracing perhaps a delay in the season. Although there's been intermittent verbal sparring for months, CBA talks remain active and largely civil until this latest development. There is no way in hell that you could say has remained civil after what Fee Collier did during the finals. That she decided to take away from the actual finals to go on a, let's be real, like, borderline unhinged rant at Kathy Engelbert. Like, there is no way in hell that you can say that she name dropped Caitlin Clark when Caitlin Clark didn't want to be name dropped. Like, that was the moment where I'm just like, damn. Okay, that was when public sentiment kind of started going against Fee, and everyone was like, people just loved Fee until, she spoke out, and it's like, no. People turned on Fee the first time was when she name dropped Caitlin Clark without telling Caitlin Clark, as a gotcha over the league, and it showed the Fee is just like everybody else, is going to go out of her way to use Caitlin Clark, for her benefit, but then again when it's not, just like everyone else in the league, when it's not time to do that, they'll blame Caitlin Clark for everything. But in fairness, Fee hasn't done that, so let's give Fee a bit of a leeway in that regard. But it says here, the latest offer included more than 1.3 million maximum salary and 503k average salary. Like, if we're being real, between a 5 and 7% increase, there is no way in hell the WNBA players get a bad deal. Even though they're calling their deal like a slap in the face and all this stuff, there is no way they get a bad deal. Could they get the exact deal they want? Maybe not, maybe. But there's no bad deal. Like, if the average salary goes to 800k, in the next, like, 7 or 8 years, like, for me, not even for me, like, that is not a bad deal, no matter what. No matter what happens, the players are not going to be in a situation where you can say they're being screwed or, like, they're not doing well. It says here they obviously got 70% share of net revenue, and it says the players are saying the net revenue comes out to about 15% of gross revenue. And it's like, yes, do you want to know why it comes out to 15%? If you're wondering why. Because the players want to include expansion fees in gross revenue. Or in their revenue. You can't include expansion fees because, yes, the league makes a one-off payment, but it's offset by the fact that every single team's money is diluted till the end of time. Every single team's TV money is diluted till the end of time. So you can't use that money in those negotiations. And, like, that just shows, like, there are situations where I'm like, the players actually have no idea. The players actually have no idea. The expansion fees are, again, to offset the dilution in TV revenue, in sponsorship revenue. And it's it's madness. For me, it's absolute madness. Like seeing the way, like seeing some of these things in the league where I'm like, how is it not like, how do you come to these numbers by including expansion fees and everything? So yeah, no shit. If you're going to add if you're going to add $250 million to the revenue that should never be added to your, like into your gross revenue, that should never have been added in the first place. Yeah, no shit. Your gross revenue is going to look way higher. It says here, talks have stalled ever since, although sources said the league believes is repeatedly made concessions to union demands. For instance, sources WNBA has agreed to a union request to eliminate the league's hard salary cap, agreed to a revenue sharing module, which salaries will grow as the business grows, to combine team and league revenue in the overall revenue pie, which basically means that the Indiana garbage teams benefit. Garbagely ran teams that nobody watches benefit from the Indiana Fever. Like that team revenue is included in the gross revenue pie. So because the Indiana Fever make a whole bunch of money and the Golden State Valkyries make a whole bunch of money, players on other teams that no one cares about get paid more. Cool. Like, and it says here as well, the question has been who will blink first. The reality is that the owners have 100% of revenue because, do you want to know why the owners have 100% of the revenue? The owners are okay if the league fails. The players aren't. It's as simple as that. If the league fails, if the WNBA goes and fails, the owners or the players are much more screwed than the owners. The owners, it's only a small percentage of their revenue for most of them. For the players, there are I mean this when I say this, like I'm not exaggerating, but there are going to be hundreds of players that would be WNBA players that will be working office jobs. Because without a WNBA to go to even give you a minimum of $60K a year, those off-season leagues don't pay enough to take it over an office job. In most scenarios. Like, the percentage of WNBA players that make six figures overseas is very low. It's very low. There's a reason why so many players take $20K to play in AU. But yeah, meanwhile, the players are adamant about the revenue split and are hesitant to budge. They've been hoping for a deal by February the 1st, at least significant movement, considering there's still an expansion draft being conducted and over 100 free agents to be signed. Just 3 weeks ago, the union created player hubs across the USA and Spain. So players could train, recover, protect their health regardless of league operations. Now frustrated by the league's lack of urgency, sources said the union is emergently exploring its next move. If they're not budging on the salary, on the rev split, they're not going to get it. Like, they are not going to get above a 20% rev split. Because if you think about it, the NBA's rev split is 50. Yes, the NBA is 50. But what the difference is that one, the NBA's operating costs are a much lower percentage of their overall revenue. Like the operating cost of the NBA versus the overall revenue of the NBA is way lower. Like the operating costs of the WNBA at this point in time is still greater than the overall revenue. Like it's still greater. Even with the TV deal, the operating cost is going to be greater than the overall revenue. These teams, like in general, the league is not going to profit. Even if the players accept the low ball offer of 15%, not even 15%, if they accepted the low ball offer of like 10%, because the league absolutely did offer 10%, which was again a low ball offer. If they accepted the low ball of 10%, the league would still be making a loss. Like that matters. That genuinely matters because at the end of the day, the league absolutely has to profit long term. Short term, it can make losses, but it has to it has to be able to profit long term. And if you give up 30%, considering the fact that the league again gets, and if you're trying to give up gross revenue, there's only 70% of the gross revenue, which is going to be taken up into almost entirely by operating costs for the foreseeable. And then you've got these other outside investors that need their chunk of the pie. Like it makes it so that it is not only is it not profitable, but it's never going to be profitable, which means that long term, the sponsor, like if the sponsors dry up, and again, if there's in any way a downturn, any sort of downturn, which we know there's going to be, like there's going to be the WNBA is nowhere near as relevant as it was. And anyone trying to argue it is a dumbass, is nowhere near as relevant as it was this time. Like, it's actually, I've looked up by every metric. It is the WNBA is the least relevant now as it's been since before this happened. As in, remember that WNBA season where Caitlin Clark wasn't even in the league yet? And remember that WNBA offseason where Caitlin Clark wasn't even in the league? The WNBA was more relevant at all of those times. Why? Because the draft that happened, it was the Indiana Fever, and people were interested to see who was going to go where, because they knew Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink were all coming into the league. And at that time, Paige Bueckers, who they thought was coming into the league. The league is at its least relevant point by every metric since the spring of 2023, before this happened. Because the 2023 WNBA season, ironically, is actually like, people don't realize it. That was like the height of the WNBA before the Caitlin Clark boom, because basically there was only two teams that mattered. There was only two teams that mattered. The Aces had just won the 2022 championship. Sue Bird had retired, but the New York Liberty, who had Sabrina Ionescu, added Jonquel Jones, who was the MVP in 2021, and Breanna Steward to their team, and Courtney Vandersloot. Like, they added 3 players. They didn't add 1, 2. They added 3 all-stars to their team. And they already had Sabrina Ionescu and Benai Delaney Hamilton. So, like, that was kind of a big thing. But it sounds like the league is preparing to strike. They're absolutely preparing to strike. And again, if the strike lasts past, let's just say, I'm trying to think off the top of my head when, like, can last till this. If the season starts in June and is a lockout shortened season to 40 games and the season ends a bit later, I think it'll be okay. Because again, the problem is, like, that will still have to be done because all the players are Team USA stuff in March. Like, I don't know when that will what that will end up doing. I don't know how long it'll take for that to happen, but, like, if that does happen, the league's okay. But, like, if this season gets cancelled, the league's not coming back. And I think everyone needs to realize that. Like, the league is not coming back. If this season is cancelled, it's over. It's over for all of them. And if you are a fringe WNBA player, go onto Indeed.com and start applying for jobs if there's going to be a strike. If you're a fringe WNBA player, go pick up a microphone and start trying to become like a small scale start a basketball podcast talking about the damn NBA, and then pray that, a network will pick you up or something. Try it, figure out whatever your career is going to be. Because if there's no WNBA, if you are a fringe WNBA player, your career is not going to be basketball. I will tell you that for a fact, because this league is not going to exist, and those teams in Europe don't pay a lot. As somebody who has been kind of around teams where I've seen what some WNBA players have had, the deals they've had to take when they played in Ireland. Yeah, some of them are not great. Yes, if you're playing for Fenerbahce or something, yeah, you're making good money, but, like, again, there's a reason why players take 20k to play in AU over some of these leagues. Anyway, I'll see you guys.